So my name is Jessica Pinto with the Southern Wayne County Regional Chamber. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and do introductions. So Joy, we're going to start with you first.
Hi, I'm Joy Douglas. I'm with ETD Services. We're a staffing agency based out of Livonia.
Thanks, Joy. Kevin, we're going to go to you next.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Giles with WOW Health Solutions, and we provide an alternative to healthcare for small businesses under 50 employees.
Thank you. We're going to go to Tracy next.
Sure. My name is Tracy Rapp. I'm with Qualified Staffing. We are a staffing supplier for all types of positions, full service human resources, and I am in my Taylor office today. We have 9 offices in Michigan.
Thank you. Ed D'Angelo, we're going to go over to you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Edward D'Angelo with the Information Center. We're your local community help center.
Thank you. And then over to Rob Bowitz.
Rob Bowitz, Bowitz CPA. We have a lot of small business clients that we're managing, so it's my first time on this Zoom call, so thank you for hosting.
Thanks for joining us, Rob. And then we're going to go over to Angie next.
Good morning, Angie Winton, Chief HR Officer with the Senior Alliance.
Thank you. Over to you, Suzanne.
Morning, I'm Suzanne Lee. I'm with the Information Center in Taylor.
Great. And then we're going to go to Sierra Taylor.
Hi, my name is Sierra. I'm a recruiter with ETD Services.
Thank you. And then we're going to go to Kara next.
Morning, everybody. I'm Kara Bischoff. I'm the general manager over at Wrapped Up Fun, where we're the answer to what are we going to do today?
Thanks, Kara. And then we're going to go to Sherry next. I'm not sure if Sherry is there. We can always come back. Lisa Wayne, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lisa Wayne, COO with Downriver Community Conference in Southgate, but we also have staff at 11 different centers throughout Wayne County.
Thank you. And then Margaret Mayer, if you're there.
Yeah, I am. My name is Margaret Mayer. I'm with ETD Services in Livonia as well. So look forward to hearing this.
Perfect. Did I miss anyone before we go forward? All right, Bob, we're going to turn it over to you. And then, you know, those introductions are helpful for Bob, just so we can get a feel of the different companies that are in this meeting. So thanks for introducing yourself.
Yes, thank you everybody for joining us today. And I think today's a real important and very timely topic. We're talking about returning to the workplace with COVID. And as most of you should know by now, we had a recent, what I would call kind of a bombshell announcement from the Biden administration. And we're going to talk about that and some other things to consider as we move forward into the fall. Some of the predictions that we're making as a company, some of my own personal thoughts as well. And I want this to be a group discussion. I think it's very important that we talk about this, because what I heard is we have different companies with different sizes here. And with the new plan that's going into place, it's going to affect everybody differently. Some of you, this may actually affect you in a good way. Some of you, it's going to affect you in a negative way. And I'll go through that in a second. With that said, I want to get started. Jessica, am I able to share my screen yet?
You should. If not, I can. Yeah, you should be able to. There you go.
All right, so I got a couple of things that I just wanted to play. Hopefully it works. Jessica, let me know right away if we don't hear any sound when I hit play, okay?
Perfect.
Well, for those of you that don't know, this is something that just came out where Biden made an announcement and he's being questioned about his announcement with his plan. But this is just what we're up against right now and what we're dealing with. And it's not to cause a political debate here. Everyone has their own opinion of the president. That's not what I'm here for, but this is what he just recently said.
We can't hear it, Bob. If you go to share your screen, there should be an option. Stop it and reshare. There should be an option. It's either the left or the right corner, but it'll say share with sound.
All right. So that's a technical difficulty. Those happen, right?
That's right.
All right.
Pulling your
There you go.
requirements and overreach. You are threatening to challenge it in court.
Have at it. Look, I am so disappointed that particularly some of the Republican governors have been so cavalier with the health of these kids, so cavalier with the health of their communities. We're playing for real here. This isn't a game. And I don't know of any scientist out there in this field that doesn't think it makes considerable sense to do the 6 things I've suggested. And, but you know, it's, let me conclude with this. One of the lessons I hope our students can unlearn is that politics doesn't have to be this way. Politics doesn't have to be this way. They're growing up in an environment where they see it's like a war, like a bitter feud. If a Democrat says right, everybody says left. If Democrat says left, they say right. I mean, it's not how we are. It's not who we are as a nation. And it's not how we beat every other crisis in our history. We got to come together. And I think the vast majority, look at the polling data, the vast majority of the American people know we have to do these things. They're hard, but necessary. We're going to get them done. Thank you.
All right. What does everybody think about that? First off, number one thing he said, the question was, what about challenges in court? He said, bring it on. So a lot of people right now are in panic mode if they have a company with over 100 people, because as hopefully all of you know, any company with 100 people are being forced to mandate vaccinations or require weekly testing. Of course, we don't have anything official in writing yet. We're all waiting to see exactly how it's going to look. But as he said, that there will be legal challenges. But does that mean that he is going to sit on his laurels and wait for it to go through the court system? Absolutely not. Something's going to happen. Something is going to move forward, and we're all going to be affected with that. I want to share one more screen here. Just recently, to give you an idea locally what's going on, just look at our schools. I always use the schools kind of as a meter. 69 reports of COVID last week in the schools. And then you go through the counties. I'll tell you this, just by going down to Wayne County, there's more than that, because we got our letter yesterday from our school here in Livonia that we had an outbreak. Okay, so this is going to continue to happen. I don't think any of us, I hope none of us are surprised. I mean, we have been bracing for it for a while. But if it's happening in the schools, you can bet it's going to happen in the workplaces. And we have to be cognizant that something is moving forward. And to say that everything is going to be like it is now in the fall is almost a shortcut to thinking. We really got to think this through. We really got to look into the future. We all have to do research. We all have to become futurists, and we all have to have an understanding that none of us, even I've studied this thing for 1.5 years now, none of us know everything. There is a lot to learn. The scientists working on this are still studying this every day, working on it and learning every single day.
Workers are wondering what this mandate will mean for them if they refuse to get the vaccine. Our ABC 10 News reporter Laura Azevedo spoke to grocery store workers who were torn about today's mandate.
I spoke to both vaccinated and unvaccinated people tonight, and they both do have one thing in common. They both agree they should have the choice to do what's best for them. For large grocery store chains, President Biden's vaccine mandate means it's very likely they'll soon require the shot for everyone or have to submit to weekly COVID-19 testing.
I'm vaccinated, but not everyone has the same feelings. A lot of people don't want to be vaccinated.
Diana Stewart says she got vaccinated because she had health concerns and wanted to be safe while interacting with so many people daily, but she does not agree with the mandate.
It should be an option. I mean, we do live in America and it is a free country.
Her coworker Humberto is not vaccinated. He has concerns about the vaccine safety.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's fair. I think it should be one's personal choice.
He's not sure what he'll do if it comes down to vaccinate or lose his job of 17 years.
If worst comes to worst, I mean, I'm not gonna end up unemployed, so I would have to get vaccinated, I guess.
Both Diana and Humberto are union workers, members of UFCW Local 135. In a statement, Union President Todd Walters told ABC 10 News, quote, "We are against the mandates and we fight for our members to have options," saying that although he's vaccinated and wishes everyone would get vaccinated, he understands everyone has different beliefs and says it's the union's job to fight for all members, vaccinated or not. Laura Acevedo, ABC 10 News.
Okay. Everybody got that one so far? Could you hear that, Jessica?
Yes.
Okay.
On this Friday morning after the president's speech last night.
Now, this is where it gets tricky. So I ran a poll. Some of the people in the chamber actually participated in the poll. We did get 586 people to participate in the poll. And I asked a simple question is, do you support the Biden administration's COVID response plan for the workplace in fall of 2021? Now, as you all know, LinkedIn polls are far from scientific, but they do give you a general idea, a glimpse into what's going on here. Now, I'm not going to share who actually voted what. I do have access to it, but I can tell you that people in pretty much every position from, a regular rank and file worker, fast food workers, CEOs, attorneys, healthcare workers are all part of this survey. So we did get a really good sampling. And what it showed is 39% actually support the Biden initiative. 56% do not support it, and 5% were indifferent. Now, I will say with some clarification that somebody else put a poll out right after I put this poll out, and they did it with just support or don't support without the option of indifferent. And the numbers were almost 50-50. Don't support it, I think, won by 2 percentage points. So we are divided. I mean, there is division here. It's very, very real, and it's something that we're going to have to deal with as employers. But as one person put it, and I'm going to turn the camera off because I did promise I would not share names, but I want to read a comment that I got from this poll. So you can't see my screen now? Jessica?
Yeah, we can't see it. We can just see you.
So I'm reading word from word from what this woman posted, and I think she summed it up absolutely fantastically. One client today who has 70% of its workforce voluntary vaccinated have over 30% of their unvaccinated staff indicate they would quit if needed. The vaccinated staff are more vocal about it being required than the unvaccinated. Their concerns are the same we are hearing from others. Why 99 is okay and 100 is not? Why some get testing options and others don't? It does not help that in this particular employer, every staff member who has gotten the virus in the past month was vaccinated already. The best things we can do right now is listen to staff, encourage productive conversations, be transparent about what this means in terms of numbers impacted, acknowledge that it's hard for everyone to give them contact information for their local representatives. If they wish to share their opinions, ask for employee referrals to fill the openings and volunteers for overtime. Other ideas they may have about how to best move forward. Of course, the devil is in the details. The regs are not out yet. In the meantime, another employer client who has under 100 employees staffed has said that they have had several people reach out to them looking for work already. This may be a huge win for small business staffing concerns. Let me get back on the screen here. And what she said at the end of that hit me pretty hard because she made a really good point. People are leaving the larger companies. They're already doing it. And what does that mean for the people that employ under 100 people that are looking for workers right now? They need somewhere to go where they don't have that fear. They're leaving because they do not want a shot. It's either fear or a moral principle. If you have that ability, that's a perfect opportunity for you to start marketing for your employers or prospective employees. I'm good friends with a club owner that does not require the vaccinations. He's not getting on the Live Nation bandwagon. He's going to remain open until it's open. Well, guess where the bans are going? They're going to him. Okay. That's how it's going to work. So with what I just put out there, that should give us plenty to talk about. So what I want to do is just open the room up now. And if anyone has any questions, because I got some predictions to make at the end here, but anybody has any questions or insight of their own, now's the time to speak. So I want to open the room.
You know, I have a question on that. You're saying that people are leaving the larger companies to go to the smaller ones, and that may be great. But, you know, when you take a look at the level of income that a smaller employer may be able to pay compared to a larger employer, do you see any potential problems there? You know, because if I'm making $25 an hour with XYZ, and now I've got to go to ABC to work and make $15 or $16 an hour, I mean, that's a hit on my income.
I'm seeing a couple things.
So,
I'm seeing people that are going to stick it out just because they have a lifestyle, a family, and they have to support the lifestyle they live. I've also seen people that say, you know what, you know, excuse my language, screw it. I'll work for less so I don't have to be put in that situation. In fact, there's a comedian out there. His name's Jim Brewer. I don't know if any of you guys know who Jim Brewer is. Famous comedian. He just announced a few days ago that he will not play shows where mandatory vaccination cards are shown, and said in that video he will work backyard parties for free and go broke before overcoming his moral principles. So that's happening with workers. And to give you an idea of where I'm getting that information from, I'm not just talking out of my behind. You guys can see it for yourself. If you're on Facebook or social media, just go and look at what your own peers are saying about it. It's out there. People are talking about it. It's insane. It's crazy. But yeah, people are willing to leave higher paying jobs for lower paying jobs. And it works in the opposite. I'll give you another example. My daughter's interviewing for Facebook, and she was worried about the interview. And I had a conversation with her yesterday. And I said, you know, people are leaving companies like Facebook. So even if your interview didn't go great, there is a chance that you may have an opportunity here because she is vaccinated. So, I mean, there's a lot of different nuances that we have to look at.
A lot of this was first kind of going on, and we see it as you go to any, you know, especially fast food restaurants and things like that. You're driving through and you would see signs saying, we'll hire anyone, or we're going to hire you at $15 an hour and we're going to pay you a $400, you know, like bonus when you do it. Do we expect that we're going to start to see some of these, I'll call them the unskilled roles or entry-level positions at different places like this, start to come back down in what they're offering in terms of pay because they feel like they may have a better saturation of potential employees?
That is actually a great question because we're still seeing people offering more. And you know, in my position is, you know, okay, we are in a crisis situation. You know, every time a war hits, we see this stuff happens, right? But at the end of the day, is throwing money at an employee a good thing just to get them to stay? I don't think it is. I think the better solution is to learn how to have good conversations with your employees, get them to enjoy your culture and go through the battle with you. If you can get that, you're in a perfect situation. But yeah, to answer your question, some companies, and I'm trying to remember which one I just read about, I think it was Kroger, but don't quote me on that one. I believe it was Kroger that did just lower their wages. Anybody else?
We, yeah. So honestly, the big $64,000 question, more than that, has always been what's leadership's responsibility here. I understand the different perspectives, the strongly held perspectives, the fact that people think differently, have different opinions, and frankly, at our shop we're under 100 employees, so we certainly could hide under that fact that this stuff doesn't apply to us, except it might for some of our funding streams. But at the end of the day, leadership's about sometimes charting a course that may not be real popular at the outset, because ultimately it's the right thing to do, or we have a view down the road, of longer term consequences. And so that, for us, I think that's the struggle, because we have lost people, already, just because we were strongly encouraging the vaccine, and they perceived that, we were going a different direction maybe than what they believed. So we're well aware that you push too hard, you're going to lose people. On the other hand, you're serving people, you're working in the community, you've got workplace safety to be concerned about. And so really, my bottom line, and I've found these roundtables to be very helpful because it's been a candid, transparent, conversation. But what is our responsibility? And yeah, there may be consequences for actions taken either way, in either direction. But what's the right, mix of compassion and understanding and patience on the one hand, on the other hand, moving forward to position your agency or your organization or your business in a way that's going to serve them well, in the coming months and year.
So that is a $1 million question. You are correct, and it's a great question. And the answer is, as a leader, especially if you own the place or you're a CEO or president and you have the ultimate control, your answer is you have to look at your entire organization as your work family. In other words, if it was your home, would you act any different than you would at your workplace? Now, you want to be successful at home and you want to be successful in work, right? With that said, we all have our different moral viewpoints of what's going on. And we have to be careful. And I think the right answer is to have good, solid dialogue and communicate with the employees that you're overseeing. Now, with that said, you kind of hit the nail on the head, because sometimes as leaders, we have to make difficult choices and do things that go against the grain for the better good. But to make that happen and successful, you have to have some buy-in from your workers. And you can actually over-communicate this whole topic too, by the way. If you over-communicate this, and we saw this on a big job in Chicago where the owner or CEO of this company was doing everything he could to communicate statistics every day, but he was over-inundating with employees to the point where it wore them out. But having just regular, ongoing, good discussions with the employees about what they feel, what they want, what you want, that's a very good idea. I personally, as a company, we're supporting what Biden did to a point, because there's mandatory testing involved too. You don't have to take a shot. Now, if you would have made it just mandatory shots, we probably would change our stance on that a little bit. Personally, after watching my wife almost die, I think everybody should get a shot, but I'm not going to shove that down anybody's throat. I think everybody should have a choice. But when I'm talking to people professionally or even in my personal lives, I'm very careful not to take it over a political line and make it more about I care about you line. I care about the success of the business. As the business grows, you all grow. The business succeeds, you all have, you have a job. And if they're gone and not part of that journey because we're in the middle of a crisis, then they're not part of something great. If you're a leader that really has a vision and a mission, it's just a shame to lose somebody over that because of a lack of communication. Does that make sense? Okay.
Bob, for some of our smaller employers, so, we've talked about if you're over 100, you have to require the vaccines as of now. What suggestions would you make for those smaller employers who may not require the vaccine but still want to keep their employees safe?
I would have those discussions. Especially, it's easier with the smaller employers. You know, you have more of a family feeling with a smaller employer. So it is a lot easier. You may run into some hurdles and realize that none of your employees, and this is just reality, that your employees are going to jump ship on you. That's why it's so important to have the discussion. We're here to talk about predicting the fall. So if you're not having those conversations now, how are you going to predict in the fall what kind of staffing levels you're going to need based on what your employees know what's coming? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's go through some of the predictions for the fall real quick. I mean, when Jessica and I talked, we had no clue this was coming from the Biden administration. We just knew it would be a relevant topic. We had no idea it would be this relevant. But some of the predictions that we were already showing is that COVID will rise again in the fall. We will be seeing some kind, and we're not sure state by state, but we will be seeing more people in masks again. We're already seeing, you know, certain venues that you can't get into unless you're vaccinated. Now we have the 100-person more employee mandatory vaccination or testing. You know, I hope a lot of these big companies, by the way, I was talking to somebody that works at, I believe, Domino's Pizza, and they actually bring a mobile clinic in for that. They're doing that to support the employees. If they want to get the shot, there's a clinic there right there on site. They can get it. If they have to go home and get sick, they go home and they're sick for a couple of days. With the Biden mandate, by the way, and then again, it's not on paper yet, but it did say that you would have to pay your employees to go get the shot if you have over 100 people. Now, to answer that question for smaller ones, that's another thing you have to take into consideration. Is it a good idea to actually pay your employee to go get the shot? Offer it. Is that a good idea, and will it work for you? The shot doesn't cost anything. You're paying them for their time off. With that said, I don't know how many people have had the shot. I was down for 1 day after getting my shot, and I know a lot of people that weren't down for any time. I know some people that were down for a little longer than a day. So, you know, you got to look at what the risk versus reward is on that. But if you really want to keep your people safe, offer them the time to run up to, I mean, every CVS now, every Rite Aid, you know, it's not like it's hard to get a shot.
Do you see any changes or potential for shutdowns again like last year?
Unfortunately, yeah, I do.
Because my concern is that with this virus, you know, viruses mutate and they're very good at surviving. And right now we're looking at the variant, and there's other forms of that virus out there too that may not have hit the States yet. But that's my concern. I mean, I've been vaccinated and I believe in it. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. I think everybody should get it. That's just my opinion. But my concern is that can small business again survive a shutdown? Because I don't think that, I mean, we've lost so many already, which is sad to see. I mean, I'm out on the road all day long, and I've got to tell you, I go into these office parks and it's empty. I go down, you know, Grand River Avenue for rent, businesses that were once there that are now gone. It's a very, I think it's a very dire situation. Also with the real estate burst, if that bursts, man, we're in a whole world of hurt, because there's beautiful buildings that are just vacant. And I know people are working from home, and I'm not sure that's the right way to go either, because, you know, you lose that camaraderie with your employees and everything else, but that's a different topic. But that's my concern. And I just don't know if these small businesses could survive. Now, your fast food chains and all those types of restaurants, I'm sure could, but I'm talking about the mom and pop businesses that may employ 15, 20 people.
Yeah, and that is a big concern of mine, but I'm looking at it two different ways, Kevin. First of all, yeah, you're right. There are new variants coming. We're dealing with the Delta variant right now, and that's causing a lot of trouble. And if you're following the news, we did have, I think it's called the Mu variant. There's another one out that hit the States that we're still learning about. And with with that said, yeah, we don't know what's coming down the road. I mean, we're predicting. The scientists are predicting. So is there a possibility that we can see a shutdown again? Yes, but here's the thing. I think our governor hurt herself pretty bad last year with the way that the pandemic was handled. And there may be some second thoughts in that camp with pulling that trigger as quickly as it was pulled last time. I think they'll take more consideration into the political fallout that would happen when that trigger is pulled. But if there comes a time that she has to pull it, I don't think she'll hesitate and will pull it. But I think she'll have more caution this time when she does it.
Kevin touched on those businesses working from home, and I actually had a member, I wish he was on today, was asking me, he's got about 10 employees. He said, can I call my employees back to work? And so, because he's got some of them working remote, what's your suggestion for, calling employees back, especially if we're anticipating things changing for the fall?
I mean, that's up to the employer. Again, this is where communication, this whole pandemic can be handled a lot better if we had good communication. I mean, we're talking from our government all the way down to on a personal level. There's so much misinformation out there that communication is just missing. Real communication, not arguing back and forth, just real dialogue. If you have an employer with 10 people and you want to bring them back to the office, that's your right as an employer. But unless you're communicating with the workers, are they going to come? Are they going to do the job that they're doing from home? Or are they going to come and be stressed out and not have the same production level? And with every company, it's different. I've had the opportunity now during COVID to go from businesses to businesses and see what's going on. And I've seen some workplaces that actually thrive better in person. And I've seen some that are doing great with remote work and a hybrid model. It's knowing your organization, knowing your customer base, and communicating with your workers. Because if they don't want to come back, it's not worth bringing them back, especially if you're already seeing success.
Yeah. I think you're going to see a lot of that pushback, especially for companies that are doing well. I know one of the major employers downtown Detroit, they were getting some feedback about that. They're saying, we did so well at home, why are we back here?
Yeah, I mean, there's major companies out there that have closed some of their offices and made this a regular thing now going forward, that they will do remote or hybrid work. So this is still playing out. I know it's been a year and a half and we're tired of hearing about COVID and tired of hearing about politics and all this stuff we've dealt with. We're exhausted from it. I mean, I am. We're still right in the middle of it. So we still got a lot to play out. So look at the potential for a COVID, another outbreak. When that happens, what's going to happen with the workforce? We're going to have kids home from school. We're going to have parents that can't come to work. Parents that are going to have to go back to a work at home or leave their job because their kids are home alone. We just saw that. It's already happening. And school's only been, well, for my daughter, it's only been 2 weeks. But yeah, we're already getting our notices. Then you're gonna have to deal with infections in your workplace. And now, with the Biden plan, you can get fined if you're not following the plan. And I think it's $14,000 per violation. So, and everyone's asking me, what if I have 105 employees? Can I fire 6 of them? Well, yeah, you can, but what's that going to do for your morale? Now, if you got 6 that were ready to go anyway, they're on their 3rd warning, they mess up, yeah, you can get under the 100. But that's just not the right way to think.
Is there any information on how this would be tracked? I understand it's going to be through OSHA, but how would they track each company to make sure that they are requiring the vaccine or the weekly test?
We're not sure yet. We're waiting to see everything in writing. As soon as that's in writing, I will certainly be putting a video out on my LinkedIn channel and my social media. But until we see all the like that lady said, the devil's in the details. Until we see that, all we know is the 100 people, the $14,000 going through OSHA. OSHA has a duty to act clause in it, which is why he went to OSHA, by the way, where if an employer fails to protect their employees and they don't come through with their duty to act, OSHA can go after the employer. So it's like a 2-word clause and or a 2-sentence clause that says the employer must protect the employees. And I believe that the administration is trying to put this under that.
What I don't understand is how you can mandate, not suggest, but mandate a company with 100 employees or more to do this vaccination of those employees that haven't been, and then every week make sure that they show that they're not infected, and then not suggest it to the smaller companies under 100 employees. Because to me, there's a lot more companies out there that are in that bailiwick, if you will, to some degree than the other way. And then also not mandate postal workers and other entities of the government not to have. To me, it's just kind of it just sounds like it wasn't well thought through. That's all. Because you still have people under 100 employees walking around that may not have been vaccinated. And once again, that's their choice. I would never judge them for that one way or another. But on the other hand, you have a group of people that have been kind of exempt, and then you have another group of people that aren't.
Yeah, I don't think it was, listen, this is my personal opinion. I'm not speaking for Permanent Solutions right now, but I don't think it was handled the best way that it could have been handled. Like I said earlier, though, I do agree with some of the things that are in there, but I think that it could have been handled a lot better. I don't know where the number 100 even came from. I don't think any of us do. Does anybody know the answer to that? I mean, it's just a magic number that appeared. And it does put all the onus on the owners or the people that are running the businesses of under 100. What are you going to do to protect your employees? Because you are going to have some people out there saying, well, it's, they're covered, they're getting mandated. Why aren't we? And, at the end of the day, what are you going to do? I mean, it's not being pushed by law. Your only option at that point is to have, again, strong conversations with your employees. You want them on your team, on your side, and you're probably not going to get 100% of your employees on your side. But if you can get a majority, then you're riding better than most companies.
Just in the spirit of conversation, this is a totally unqualified statement or two, but I'll throw it out on 2 different things. One is I assume that some of the groups were not covered had to do with the political calculations in terms of what policy they believe could get passed, and they didn't want people coming out, certain groups coming out in strong opposition, i.e. the postal group. That's pure speculation. The under 100, I assume they're assuming the companies with over 100 people have more resources to do these things than those companies with under 100. And then on a totally different branch of thinking, it just occurs to me when I was starting out in my career, like a very, very long time ago, like 50 years ago, we had the same argument about smoking, that when I started work, everybody smoked. If you were not a smoker, you had to go to meetings where everybody was smoking, and whatever, that's your problem, that you had to live with the smoke that was in the room. And as smoking got eliminated more and more, we heard the similar arguments about smokers' rights and people should get to make their own choice and so on. And I don't know, it took a decade or two for us to get to where we're at now, where it's a different situation. So I understand changes is difficult in general, and some of these calculations are based on sort of what's the greater good for the greater number of people, but it is a really difficult situation, and the politicization, I can't even say the word, making this political was extremely unfortunate. I don't ever remember public health being that political. I remember as a kid just getting inoculations, and it was just nobody gave any thought to it. You know, smallpox and diphtheria and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't particularly controversial. So that's unfortunate because, and the social media, I mean, the echo chambers has just contributed to us being farther and farther apart. So we're trying to respect everybody, but we're also dealing with sort of different understandings or beliefs.
Well, unfortunately, well, first of all, let me just miss something. To say that the postal workers are not getting vaccinated mandatorily is wrong. They are getting mandatorily vaccinated, just not under the emergency order. They still fall under an employer over 100 people, and they have to get vaccinated. So that was a political move right there. The OSHA didn't kill them. The order did, though. But you said something else, the being civil on social media. The thing that's happening right now, here's another prediction. People are not being social on social media. Even on that post where I said, please be civil in your comments on a professional LinkedIn page, some of the comments were not professional. You know, we saw BLM last year. We saw protests last year. Expect more protests this year. Who's it going to be? Our predictions, the vax versus unvaxxed. We're already seeing it. We're seeing hospitals with their workers standing out on the corners. I just saw it in Livonia a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be another interesting ride, and we got to buckle in. But what we have to do is we got to come together and bring some positivity to this. We've been negative for a year and a half plus now. What we need to do as business leaders, as leaders in our community, is start bringing some positivity in this. The one thing that I will say that I really enjoyed that Biden said in that is that in that first clip that I played was when he said that when the left says this, the right does this. When the right says this, the left does this. That's not how America should be. Americans should be together, or I'm paraphrasing what he said there. But I really appreciated that statement that he made at the end of that, because that's exactly how I feel personally. I think that we've been through a lot now. Now it's time to come together. If we don't come together in a positive way, and I'm using the word positive way because there's so many people that are coming together negatively on both sides. We got to come together as a country. And you know what? We just got past 9/11. I've never in my life felt prouder of a country and seen more unity in our country than I did when I was working on an ambulance, when the Trade Center was hit on 9/11. And we were hunkered down in an ambulance waiting to see if something was going to happen here in Detroit. And then the next couple days, watching the pride of America just absolutely grow. There was no white versus black. There was no gender thing. Everything was about being an American and moving forward. And if we can get to that spot, we can move past this pandemic and get through it. Listen, this isn't the first pandemic we've ever lived through as a nation, maybe as in our lifetime, but we've survived it as a nation before. And we will survive this one. And guess what? People in future generations are going to go through the same old crap again.
You talk about coming together and creating positivity. I think some ideas in that would be helpful. As a leader in my organization, I do have a personal opinion on the whole vaccine thing, and it's creating conflict in a lot of our offices, everybody's personal opinions on the vaccine. And where everybody's divided. What's the best way to get through that and keep your team together?
Well, first of all, I would try to do your best to, and it's hard to do, but it's not a good, we're stuck in a world right now where politics are in the workplace. We've always said keep politics out of the workplace. They're there. But it goes back to the communication. If there's going to be debates, they have to be healthy and they have to be somewhat controlled. But those conversations have to happen. It's when they're not controlled and there's no sort of mediator involved in it and no consequences. I mean, if you have a handbook and somebody's saying something that's so outlandish or even threatening, which is occurring in the workforce right now, you got to stick by your guns and follow your own rules, even during a pandemic. If you have to tweak your handbook during a pandemic, that's perfectly fine. But you have to make sure that you're doing your best to control the conflict. That conflict's going to be there. One of the big things that we're predicting, and we've seen this trend happening since the pandemic hit, is more and more employees are turning to unions now than in a long, long time. We just saw a report that 50, I think it was 51 or 52% of tech workers enjoy the idea of a union. 70% of American workers in general are supporting the idea of a union. When you look at the private sector of the unions, that's only about 6%. And now you got 70% that say, yeah, I would entertain the idea. So that's saying that they're afraid of what the employer is going to do. The union is going to have my back. But here's the rub. Some unions are supporting mandatory vaccines and some aren't. So that we have a whole array of things that we have to look at. Now, some team building exercises, Tracy, some simple team building exercises, some lunches, some place where you can get together and talk. I don't know what kind of business, I knew at one point what you did, but I don't remember. But if you have the ability to take them out for an outing, even a dinner or somewhere where you can have a free conversation with no work distractions, they appreciate it and you're accomplishing a goal.
So we've got about 9 minutes left. Does anyone else have any questions, thoughts, ideas? I know it's going to be crazy coming up in the fall, so now's the time.
It is, and we got 15 people on this group here, and my whole hope is that we take positive messaging out of this and spread it to other people in the chamber and then outside of the chamber. If you want to know how to start a movement, it has to start small. And right now, we do need a counter movement, and not the kind that we're seeing on play out in front of our eyes. We have to be productive while we're getting things done, and we got to come together. And we got to start providing some positivity, letting the employees know we're all going through this together. Listen, there's CEOs out there that not only are they losing a ton of money, they're losing a ton of sleep. They're going through family issues. They're going through the same problems that employees are going through. So, as a leader, we feel the same pain. It's just, do we put the brave face on? Or do we break down and show them all that we're human and we can talk to them on a human level?
So I guess I'll ask this, the topic was creating your plan for fall. What's maybe the top 3 things that employers should do to incorporate into their plans coming up?
You're asking me or the group?
The group, the group.
I'll give you my 3.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Encourage them to feel safe. Whatever their definition of safety is. Listen, people are going to lose employees. It's going to happen. But at least if you're having that open conversation and you are encouraging, not to a level where it's too forceful, but you're getting your voice heard. I think it's very important. 2, don't forget about the everyday things that we have to do with employee engagement. Sometimes it's okay to take a break from this whole virus thing, from the politics, and look at what you have to do to improve as an organization. And a lot of times what we're seeing is people are forgetting all of a sudden how to continuously improve their organization. They're so hyper-focused on staying safe. If you don't have an organization that's producing quality product, what's the use for the employees? So you got to keep your focus on what your mission and vision is. Okay. And 3, if an employee needs help, make sure that employee gets the help. We're having a lot of mental health issues. We did one of these HR roundtables on this. Let's face it, when we did that, people were already sounding off. We were a sounding board that day, weren't we, Jessica?
Yeah.
If we have to go through another year of this, the mental health in the workplace is just going to exacerbate and become worse and worse and worse. And my big fear with that would be more people on drugs, more suicides, more people just having breakdowns. I mean, I shared freely on the one that I did with Jessica, that I suffered through it. I mean, for those of you that don't know, my wife almost died from COVID. It was a hard year. And I had to talk to somebody. It's nothing to be ashamed of, and I think opening that dialogues up is huge. If you got to talk to somebody, help your employees get that help. If you have an EAP system and you're able to do it, do it. They're gonna need it. And I mean, add one more. As a leader, you can't lead your employees until you get help that you need too. So if you're feeling the stress and you're feeling the pressure, talk to somebody, because all that does is if you bottle that in, it trickles down to your employees and it becomes a nightmare. So that's what I have to say. But anybody else? Well, Jessica, do you want to pick a topic for next time?
That's what I was just going to get into. So, we touched on a lot about communication and, what we should do for the fall. Is there a topic you want to continue on to this? Or do we want to totally switch gears? It's up to the group.
Jessica, it's Angie. I mean, I think this is a topic that is going to be around a while. So, and changing. So, I mean, I think it's, I think it would be appropriate to kind of keep it, because I think we're all in limbo on what to do and what will happen when we implement procedures.
This is what I think.
Yeah, it's a very fluid situation, and it's ever changing. I think you should continue on with it if you want, because next time we talk, it could be totally different.
Yep. Jessica, I think both Kevin and Angie are correct. You know what would be best? We have a small group today. What is there, 15?
Yeah.
We need to grow this group with the chamber. So if I can have an ask of everybody here, if I can ask you guys with your connections that are in the chamber to get in this group. This is an important topic. And Kevin, you were right. This is going to change. Next month, things are going to be completely different. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have this on a rolling schedule and keeping people prepared, keeping people updated.
And, I'm not aware of any other chambers, and I belong to a number of them, that are doing anything like this. And maybe, I don't know if it's possible, Jessica, but maybe ask other chambers if they would be interested in offering it to their, chamber members as well. It's just a thought.
No, that's a good idea. Actually, once I get off this call, I'm actually going to an event with the Belleville Chamber. So no, that's a good thought. Make it a multi-chamber event. We can call it something like, update on guidelines and regulations for the workplace, something like that. So I know, like Bob said, everything's been changing so fast. We weren't expecting, when we put this topic out, we weren't expecting that new rule to come through. So something like that, we can keep the topic broad. And so once we get close to the event, it'll be a good window of topic for us to talk about. So I'll put it out there. And I think that's a good idea, Kevin, open it up to a couple other chambers.
And it brings that whole community. Like I said, this is a community effort. This isn't a one employer effort. As employers, we got to come together. Bottom line.
Yep. But, we've gotten feedback over time that these have been helpful for, to dig through all the different regulations. So I think it's a good idea to keep the topic going.
Yeah, and we didn't even have John on today. So when we have a lawyer on here, there's a whole other ball game. So we have a lot to talk about still.
I'll send John an email, just make sure he can be on for October. But I think Kevin makes a good point. It's good for our members and to get some other members from different chambers on to, stop and learn.
I just want to support that. I think one of the challenges we're going through with this particular, year and a half pandemic or whatever is feeling somewhat isolated, ourselves, even though we're interacting. So to have a group that's safe and to talk about these things and talk them through and maybe get some ideas from other folks on what could potentially work is incredibly helpful and it's a great so it's a good thing and we appreciate it.
I agree, and I just want to add that I think the chamber's been excellent in providing resources all the last year and a half. You guys have been like one of my best sources for resources, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. I mean, that's why we're here, to get all those different, you know, Ron's been key about getting all those legislative updates out the past year. I've been doing workshops like these just to get business owners talking. So, you know, our mindset is whatever we can do to help.
I'm putting my email in the comments here. If anybody's having trouble retaining employees, communicating with employees, anybody in chamber that just wants to have a quick 5-10 minute conversation, feel free to hit me up with an email. We don't charge for those little short conversations, but we will give some real good advice for you guys. Our goal, we are in the Downriver community as a business, is to make sure Downriver does thrive. So please, my email is in the chat box. Feel free.
Perfect. And then I'll also send out this presentation, since we did record it, just in case anyone wants to watch it again, or if they missed it, they're able to go back and watch it. And I'll make sure your email's copied on that too, Bob.
Okay, thank you so much.
Perfect.
Everyone, this was a great conversation. I think it was very important. Let's grow this for next month, and who knows what we will be talking about.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank
See you
you.
next month.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.